When you hear the name Capcom, what do you think of? Street Fighter 2, Final Fight, Strider, Ghosts and Goblins, Mega Man, Resident Evil, Devil May Cry. As one of the most prolific development and publishing studios, there isn't a gamer alive today who hasn't been impacted by some form of Capcom's work. And while the games and franchises just mentioned are legendary in their own right, there's one series that blasted its way onto the gaming landscape in 1999 and disappeared just as fast. That's right, if there's one series that Capcom and Dreamcast fans love, it's Power Stone. Capcom's isometric 3D arena fighter was one of the stars of the console's Western launch, bringing a fresh take to a genre long dominated by Virtua Fighter and Tekken. Despite the shift to 3D, beat-em-up still relied on traditional side-on views of years gone by, struggling to grasp how best to utilise the additional plane of movement now available to them. Virtua Fighter 3 tried to mix things up via undulating stages and its dodge button. Soul Calibur and Dead or Alive 2 would bring in 8-way movement, but they still didn't allow the fighter to explore the stage and environment. Okay, Dead or Alive 2 did allow you to smash your opponent through windows, over ledges, off cliffs and onto new areas of the stage, but the fighters were still restricted to a single plane, the finer details of the stages remaining nothing more than pretty backgrounds. Power Stone changed the game. You could go anywhere, you could pick up anything, you could interact with everything. Directed by both Tatsuya Nakai and Hideki Itsuno, and produced by Takeshi Tezuka, all three men have worked on some of Capcom's biggest and most notable franchises. Nakai-san worked on Marvel vs. Capcom 2 as a planner, Rival Schools as director, Cyberbots as game designer, Lost Planet 2 as Xbox 360 product support advisor, and Street Fighter 4 as technical support. Itsuno-san is possibly the most decorated of the trio and still works at Capcom to this day. From working on Street Fighter Alpha in 1995 and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in 1998, he would go on to direct Project Justice, aka Rival Schools 2, as well as Capcom vs SNK 2 and of course, Power Stone 2. However, he's perhaps most recognised for his work on the Devil May Cry series, coming in as director for the final 5 months or so of development of Devil May Cry 2. Itsuno would go on to direct Devil May Cry 3 and 4, as well as a Devil May Cry reboot and subsequent Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition for PS4 and Xbox One, as well as the most recent Devil May Cry 5. Tezuka-san's credits include planner on the arcade and PlayStation versions of Marvel Superheroes, as well as special thanks on Spawn in the Demon's Hand, and of course, Power Stone 2. However, it's his interview with Louis Nye from Titan Game Studios back in 2021 which revealed something even I had no idea about. Power Stone wasn't always planned for release on Sega hardware. In the interview, Tezuka-san confirms that Power Stone was originally in the works for the Panasonic M2, the 3DO successor, but was canned when the M2 was cancelled and the project would migrate to Sega's Naomi and ultimately the Dreamcast to become the game we know and love today. The interview itself is fantastic reading and the link is in the description. So that's the men behind the madness. But what made Power Stone so special? Well, you see, while power-ups are common fare for video games, they appeared mainly in platform or action-type titles. See Mario's Mushroom, Sonic's Chaos Emeralds, Turrican's Weapons, and Solid Snake's Cardboard Box. Okay, that one's a stretch. Power Stone broke the mould and introduced an ingenious combat mechanic with its power-ups in the guise of the Power Stones that form the basis for the game's title. Each bout begins with both fighters possessing a single Power Stone, with the third randomly spawned during the heat of battle. When a fighter collects all 3 power stones, they power change and transform, giving players temporary superpowers and special moves known as power fusions, which the other player must frantically try to avoid until the timer runs out and their foe returns to normal. Hitting your opponent results in them relinquishing a stone, as does being struck yourself. Each stage in the game is packed with items fighters can throw at one another to cause damage, releasing one of the stones in the process. These include trash cans, park benches, crates, flower pots, barrels, and much more. The environments, in a way, are the star of the show, and a gameplay mechanic that must be mastered in their own right in order to succeed. In addition to this, random treasure chests spawn throughout bouts which contain mystery items, such as pistols, rocket launchers, flamethrowers, and bombs. It's a beat 'em up that combines all its elements to near perfection to create a deep and rewarding brawler that could, and some argue should, have gone on to stand proudly along Street Fighter for years to come. Released in Japanese arcades in February 1999, the game runs on Sega's Naomi arcade board, which of course made its port to Dreamcast a certainty. And sure enough, at the end of the same month it made its arcade debut, Power Stone smashed its way into Japanese stores and into the GD-ROM drives of Dreamcasts across Japan. As previously mentioned, the game was a launch title in the West and was met with critical acclaim. 9 out of 10 from DC UK, 9 out of 10 in Edge, 8 out of 10 in Official Dreamcast magazine and 5 stars in CVG. And this praise was richly deserved, because while I've only touched on the gameplay mechanics so far, it cannot be understated how drop-dead gorgeous Power Stone looks. Razor-sharp visuals, insane levels of detail, bright and vibrant colours and super smooth animation. It legitimately looks like something you'd expect from a 90s Saturday morning cartoon series. Wait, what do you mean it was a 90s Saturday morning cartoon?
Long ago, from the land where legends are born, it is said that one strange and special night, a night shrouded in mystery, 7 sacred stones received a magical burst of energy. The stones grew so powerful that nothing could contain them. When these 7 stones are reunited, a new age of miracles and wonders will occur.
Okay, I don't know if it actually aired on Saturday mornings, but the Power Stone TV series ran from April 3rd to September 25th, 1999 for a total of 26 episodes on Japan's TBS network. Power Stone was later dubbed into English by ADV Films and broadcast in Canada on the YTV channel in 2003. Information on US circulation was hard to come by. Many of the episodes have been uploaded to YouTube, and various comments on those videos say that the series simply went straight to DVD and was never shown on television in the States. So I decided to do some digging around the comments section on these episodes to get a feel from people who remember the series, and it was heartwarming to see such fond memories like... Wait. What? No way.
Emotional damage!
That's mind-blowing. It's surreal to think that people watched this and had no idea it was based on a video game. Either way, I hope that everyone who loved the show has had a chance to experience the game, giving them the full Power Stone experience, and if anything, the anime simply fleshes out the already brilliant roster of characters. It really is a diverse and varied selection of fighters, and it's a shame that they didn't go on to become stalwarts in gaming folklore. So, allow me to introduce you to the cast of Power Stone. Edward Falcon, amusingly known as Fucker in Japan, is the main protagonist in both the game and TV series. A boxer and pilot, his power change sees him don a robotic red suit complete with jetpack. His power fusion moves include the Power Explosion, which sees a barrage of missiles explode from his body, and the Power Rocket, a homing attack that sees Falcon dash at his opponent from several angles, throwing them in the air to cause massive damage. Ayami may be small, but don't let her appearance fool you. Descended from a long line of ninjas, she's fast and skilled in the use of shurikens. Her power change mode sees her turn pink with a giant shuriken on her back. Her power fusion, the 100-flower bloom, sees Ayami remove the aforementioned shuriken, spin on the spot and unleash a barrage of shurikens that bounce off the walls of the stage to devastating effect, cutting down anything and everyone in their path. Wang Tang, my favourite character in the game, is a skilled kung fu expert. In his power change form, Wang Tang becomes covered head to toe in golden armour, and his Dragon Typhoon special is an effective setup move for one of the game's most devastating power fusions, the Big Dragon Orb. This move sees Wang Tang charge up a giant ball of energy, filling a large section of the screen before being thrown in the direction of his opponent. If you time this move right, it's good night to whoever's on the receiving end. It's also a clear reference to Goku's Genki Dama, aka the Spirit Bomb in the Dragon Ball franchise. Gunrock, a miner by trade and one of the strongest fighters in the game, but also one of the slowest. His brawler style of combat inflicts plenty of damage, but his power fusions are equally devastating. Fun fact, Gunrock's power change form is called the Heavy Tank, and as a deliberate nod to the Thing from Fantastic Four. The Thing's localised Japanese name is Ganrock. Jack, one of the oddest looking characters in the game, is a robber who loves knives and shiny trinkets. His power change form is known as the Mad Clown, where he resembles a metallic insect. Is anyone else getting Insecticon vibes here? Jack's power fusion moves focus on his fascination with blades, and include Misery Rain, which rains down multiple swords on his opponent. Galuda, a Native American who seeks the Power Stones to save his village from a mysterious illness, second in power only to Gunrock but much faster and more agile, his power change form resembles a totem pole, and his power fusion move, the Starfire, sees Galuda draw a giant energy bow and fire a glowing arrow into the sky, which then rains down several large arrows on his unsuspecting enemy. Rogue, a fortune teller and dancer, she intends to find the Power Stones to bring happiness to people around the world. Ah. She goes by the name Scorching Beauty when in power change mode, and as such, all her special moves revolve around the use of fire. Look out for her Summon Giant special, a giant skull-shaped fireball that shoots smaller fireballs from its mouth as it roams around the arena. Last but by no means least of the selectable fighters, Ryoma is a samurai warrior whose weapon of choice is the katana. In his story, he seeks the strongest opponents, not material possessions, and is possibly Power Stone's closest equivalent to Street Fighter's Ryu in terms of lore. His power change form is one of the best in the game, a chrome robo-like samurai whose sword emits devastating lightning bolts. What an absolutely brilliant roster of fighters. But no Capcom fighting game is complete without its bosses. Just look at Street Fighter 2 and the clamour for Champion Edition in order to finally play as Vega, Sagat, Balrog and M. Bison. In Power Stone, you face off against two bosses. Well, three kind of. The first is Kraken, captain of a band of pirates who go by the name of King Octopus, with the bout taking place on his ship called the Skull Haven. The main event, however, comes against Vargas, the true villain of the game. Vargas possesses incredible strength, but should you defeat him, he'll shapeshift into Final Vargas. See? I told you there was 3 bosses. Upon winning the first round of your fight against Vargas, his lifeless body is possessed by the Power Stone set in his temple throne, with final Vargas resembling a cross between Godzilla and the monster from Tremors. He fires lasers from his mouth and supercharged spikes from his back. However, he is somewhat cumbersome in his movement and relies on his overpowered moves making contact, and trust me, if they do, the damage is telling. Power Stone, in a way, is the perfect Dreamcast game. It made an impact similar to the system itself, blazing a path, creating new fans, and then burning out no sooner had it arrived. Fans across the world have repeatedly asked Capcom via forums and social media to bring the series back, but to date all we've had is the Power Stone collection for PSP, scant consolation for a fanbase eager for more. Back in 2020, Capcom were subject to a cyber attack and data was leaked online. Several games in Capcom's pipeline were mentioned, including Final Fight Remake for Q2 2024 and the big one, Power Stone Remake for Q3 2024. It remains to be seen if the latter ever becomes reality, but there's no denying that the appetite remains as strong as ever for a brand new Power Stone. So what are your memories of Power Stone? Did you play it back in the day? Did you pick it up with your Dreamcast at launch? Who's your favourite character? We'd love to hear your memories and experiences, so please get in touch via the comments below. If you've made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for sticking with me, and I do hope you've enjoyed the celebration of a game near and dear to us all. You can catch me on X, still getting used to it not being Twitter anymore, at the Segaholic. You can catch Dan at Swooper_D, and the podcast account is of course at Sega Guys. If you like what we do, please remember to like, share and subscribe. And if you're new to the channel, take a look around the rest of our content. There's plenty of Sega to go around. Until next time, stay retro, stay Sega, and we'll see you on the Sega side. Sega!